Welcome to Wannabe Clutter-free, formerly Wannabe Minimalist, the podcast for busy families who are tired of the chaos, fed up with being overwhelmed, and ready to enjoy life again. Each week, we talk about how to let go of the clutter so that you can focus on the things that actually matter. And it's not just physical clutter. We talk about the mental and emotional stuff too, because if it's holding you back, it's time to ditch it. I share what I've done in my own life to declutter, organize, and calm the chaos, but you won't just hear it from me. There are amazing guests too. It's practical, doable, and simple for those of us that want to be clutter-free. Well, hey there, my friend. Welcome back to the show. My name is Deanna Yates, and you are listening to episode 223 of the Wannabe Clutter-Free podcast. On today's episode, we are actually going to start talking about Christmas and the holidays and the gift-giving holidays that are coming up, and they'll be here before we know it. I know we have over 3 months until Christmas actually arrives, but your friends, family, all those people that are super generous in your life, the ones that really like to gift give, they are probably already planning your presents. And if you are struggling with over generous family members who like to give your kids a lot of holiday gifts, then this conversation is for you. I know that a lot of us would like to shift how we get presents in our home. And if that is you, that means you need to start planning early. You need to start seeding this conversation now so that it's not such a big deal. And, no harm, no foul. Gifts hopefully have not been purchased yet. So that is what we are going to be talking about today. We are going to be talking about these conversations, how to approach them in a delicate way where you're not offending your loved ones, providing practical tips on how to shift the focus from material gifts to more meaningful experiences, and really what the whole season is all about in the first place. So, whether you're looking to reduce the clutter, save money, or make the holidays more memorable, this episode will equip you with the tools to get your family on board with a less is more approach to gift giving. Let's get into it. All right, so let's start first by saying I am going to refer to the gift giving holidays as Christmas. I am in the US. The majority of the population does celebrate Christmas. I'm not trying to offend anybody or leave anybody out. I was raised in a home that celebrates Christmas. And so that is what I'm going to be referencing. But please know that these ideas and concepts will apply no matter what holiday you celebrate or what big gift giving events you have in your life. Okay. So please, my intention here is not to offend or leave anybody out. I'm just going with what I know in my life and what I see and hear about most commonly on this show. But please, comment and let me know what the major holidays are for you. And if I can help and adjust in any way, shape, or form, I will do so. Okay, so we'll start there. Now let's get into it. Why are we starting to plan for Christmas or the end of the year right now in September? Well, we're doing that because I know that it feels like the holidays are a long way off, but trust me, this is the perfect time because if you are in the US, you have, the biggest holiday spending comes right after Thanksgiving. So that's about 2 months away. And a lot of your family is already starting to think about these gift giving scenarios now. And when we plan early, we give ourselves time to breathe. We give ourselves time to think. We give ourselves time to make intentional choices without the rush, without the stress, without the pressure that the end of November and December tends to bring, right? As we start to add on holiday parties and, travel plans and all of that, the weather can sometimes throw things off. So if we can start earlier, we will be a little bit more intentional. It will be a little less stressful for you and for everyone involved. All right, so starting now allows us to also communicate our wishes clearly and calmly to our loved ones. There's less pressure, there's less time constraints, there's less stress, which means we can have more casual conversation. We can drop hints a little bit more. We can start small and then we can ramp up. We can start with something and then we can reference back to it later. It gives everyone, including our kids, a chance to adjust to maybe some new expectations that we would like to ask our family to get on board with. We're not springing any surprises on people. We're not doing last minute requests on anyone. Because if you have ever tried to ask someone to change, to shift in mid plan, it can be a lot more difficult. Also, if somebody's already bought something and you're saying, hey, we don't want physical gifts this year, we want adventures and experiences, well, that's difficult. Can they return the thing they already bought? Maybe they already had plans in mind. And so this way, we give everybody a little bit more time to adjust before they even make their first purchase. So today, we're going to start setting the groundwork for a smoother, more enjoyable holiday season. But before we get there, I want to talk about the challenge of too many gifts because let's face it, one of the biggest stressors for many of us around Christmas or these big holidays isn't just the planning or the cooking, it is the sheer amount of stuff that comes into our homes. And it can feel like the holidays are an avalanche of gifts that our kids may or may not even play with in the next year, right? If you think back to previous holidays, I am sure there are gifts that your children were given that they didn't even play with. Maybe they outgrew them. Maybe they got stuck in a closet and nobody even remembered they were there. And finally, you're decluttering and you're like, oh my gosh, wow, that feels like such a waste, right? So then we have a layer of guilt and a layer of waste that we want to not have to relive. And then as parents, it's tough to watch because while we appreciate that love and generosity, we are often the ones left to deal with the aftermath, right? We're left to deal with the clutter, the disorganization, sometimes the disappointment when that novelty wears off, having to figure out if we don't have any room for these things, what has to go, right? That juggling act of having to deal with new stuff coming in when maybe your house is already full. And then here's where it gets tricky. We're not just managing our own expectations or even that of our kids, but also those of our extended families. We've got the grandparents, the aunts, the uncles, those who often want to shower our kids with gifts and love. And of course, we don't want to pull back on that. We don't want to say, hey, we don't want anything from you, right? That's not a conversation we're trying to have. We're not trying to alienate the loved ones in our lives. We're not trying to poo poo this idea of them giving their love and showing their love to their family. Because, yeah, saying no, well, and asking for less, it can feel awkward. And there's this emotional weight to it because we don't want to offend someone. We don't want to seem ungrateful. We don't want to seem, I don't know, petty. None of that. It's all from a place of love. And I will start by saying if someone gives you a gift and you don't want it, please just say thank you. Don't qualify it. Don't say, oh, really? Or I didn't want you to get me anything. Or just say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you thinking of me. That's it. That's all you have to do. You then can decide what to do with the gift later, but just say thank you and appreciate it. Okay. But we're having this conversation so we can maybe move past that and not have to do that in the first place. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to shift the focus to experience gifts and talk about how we can do that quickly and easily with our families.
I'm Margaret.
And I'm Amy.
And together we host the podcast, What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood.
Margaret, I would say you're sort of a where are my keys kind of mom.
Correct. Sometimes a where are my kids kind of mom. Well, you're, Amy, more of a we were supposed to leave 35 seconds ago, mom.
I mean, touche. In each episode of What Fresh Hell, we come at a topic from our usually completely opposite perspectives. I bring the research.
And I bring kind of the gimlet eye. Like, is that research really going to work, people?
And almost 10 million downloads later, we're still laughing.
We also talk to experts in the parenting field, plus parents with stories we can all learn from.
We make each other laugh, we challenge each other's assumptions, and we have what we think is the best parenting community on the internet.
Check out What Fresh Hell? Laughing in the Face of Motherhood wherever you listen to podcasts.
All right, welcome back. So before the break, we were talking about the challenge of too many gifts, and now we're going to talk about shifting the focus to experience gifts. This is one of the best things that we have ever done because we don't always need more toys, more gadgets, more things, more trinkets, more stuff filling up our homes. But gifts are lovely, gifts that we are going to use and enjoy and appreciate and build memories around are so appreciated and so loved. And so what if instead of getting all that stuff, those toys, the gadgets, the trinkets, the games, the things you have to actually find a home for in your home, what if instead We did something that creates memories and shows our love and gets us to do something together and gets to help us grow as humans and a family and as loved ones together, right? That's where experience gifts come in. And they can be an absolutely wonderful alternative. Now, these are the gifts that don't sit on a shelf because they have to be used up and experienced and something where you have to do something. And that is the fun, right? Imagine your child receiving tickets to the zoo, a cooking class, a membership to a children's museum, an amusement park, movie tickets, ice cream date with grandma, grandpa, whoever is giving the gift. Like these are what experience gifts are and what they are all about. And these are the gifts that keep giving long after the holidays have passed, especially if we can do like a membership or something bigger where everyone goes in together. We'll talk about that a little bit later because I know some of these experience gifts can get pretty expensive. And we don't want our loved ones to feel like they have to spend a lot of money. That is not the point of this. And this isn't just about less clutter. It isn't. I know it seems that way when it first comes off. It seems like it's just about less clutter, but it's about gifting moments to our kids, those that they will remember and cherish. Right now, today's day and age, it's so easy for parents, grandparents to say, hey, can you send me a list that the kids want? And you can create a list on Amazon and send that over. And literally, you can buy it on one end of the country and it ships automatically to the other end of the country. And there's really no thought, love that goes into buying a gift like that, right? It is literally an exchange of money and things, and it can feel very impersonal. And so, an experience gift is the opposite of that. Instead of just clicking a link and sending a gift across the country, you're actually having to think about something that they might want to do. Or you're gifting this moment and something that you can participate in. That is the biggest thing for me, having that moment of connection. And so if you're traveling to see family, well, you can say, how about the gift is a day out wherever they live. Or maybe it is amusement park tickets. And then when they come to visit you, you all go together as a family. Or maybe it's a day out bowling. It doesn't have to be expensive to be fun. Please remember that. It does not have to be expensive to be an amazing experience. It can be walking around a park. It can be, feeding the birds, whatever. It doesn't have to be crazy. It can be just time together to appreciate and love each other. So it's teaching your kids also that joy isn't always found in a box wrapped with a bow. It doesn't always have to be that. Now, can you still take this experience and print out a ticket and wrap it up in a bow? Absolutely, you can. Because I know grandparents love seeing when your kids open something, right? There is a moment of joy, a moment of anticipation. I know we've all grown up with this dream that we have to have a bunch of presents under the tree. So let's just be creative and wrap up these experiences, and that can work as well. But more than just unwrapping it, right? It's getting to take part in the memory making process. And I think from talking to my family over the years that those experiences really are what set apart the holidays and make it more enjoyable to be together and having this time. Okay? All right. And if you really want, really want, we can talk about a little shift you can make to actually make that experience a tangible gift. So if it's a cooking class, can you buy a cookbook to gift with the experience of the cooking class? Maybe you buy a ladle or measuring cups or something that will go along with and help the children after, or the family members after the cooking class, implement the things they learned. So there are ways to have a small, tangible gift that then coordinates and goes along with the experience gift. And I know that has worked really well, especially with younger children who are kind of being trained to get away from the tangible gifts more to these experience gifts. All right, let's take one more quick break. So now let's talk about how to have these difficult conversations about gifts, because we've established that experience gifts are a great alternative, but now it comes to the hard part, actually talking to your family about it. And this is the part where most people get scared and they just kind of don't do it because it's maybe not an easy conversation to have, but we're going to make it better. They can feel daunting because they're wrapped up in tradition, expectation, and a lot of love. But the key here is to approach the topic with kindness, clarity, positive tone, And just know that it's coming from a place of love. And if we're trying to exchange love between people, that will be a lot easier. Instead of blame, please don't go into this with blame. You're making it hard. You giving so many gifts makes it difficult in our house. It's all cluttered, blah, 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 right? We want to talk about it from a place of, look, we have so much. You are so generous. We would love to spend more time with you. We would love for the kids to spend more time with you. We want to do something really cool as a family together, right? Start from the positive side. Okay. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to be clear and kind. We're going to start by sharing our feelings and the why behind our request. So for example, you might say, we're really trying to focus on experiences and creating memories together this year, rather than accumulating more stuff. So make it about your family's values and keep the tone light and positive. Number 2, you're going to share those family values. So explain why these values matter to you. You could say, we've noticed that the kids really enjoy doing things together, like going to the aquarium or trying new activities. And we really want to focus on that and foster that, more of that this year. Number 3, you can offer alternatives. So people like to feel included and appreciated. So instead of just saying no gifts, right, or you're cluttering our house, right, let's not do that. We want to provide alternatives. We want to give them a list of experience gifts or suggest a group gift that everyone can contribute to. Because again, this isn't about a monetary value. We're not trying to ask people to spend a lot of money. But if we have a bigger gift that we are wanting everybody to contribute to, maybe like a bike or an art set or tickets to a special event, amusement park tickets, things like that, then we can ask for some alternatives. And then also ask them for ideas and things that they loved to do as a kid or things that they would love to do with your child. They may have their own ideas, right? It doesn't all have to come down to us. Ask more questions. It really is helpful. And then number 4, we're going to set boundaries gently. Now, sometimes you might need to be a little bit more direct, especially if you've tried that softer approach before and it didn't quite stick. It is okay to kindly but firmly set boundaries. Like, we'd love to keep the number of physical gifts to a minimum this year. We really appreciate your understanding. We're only asking for, if you really want to get a physical gift, we're only asking for one physical gift. Or on the flip side, if your family really likes giving physical gifts, then maybe you, as the parents, cut back on the physical gifts that you give your family as well, right? There are ways to compromise, but we still want to start at this place of our ideal, and then we can work in the contingencies as we need to. All right, let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about handling potential pushback and then the benefits of less clutter this holiday season. See you in a second. Okay, welcome back. So let's talk about the reality that not everyone is going to immediately jump on board with this idea, right? We understand this. There might be some pushback with people saying, but I love buying gifts, or it's tradition. I've always done this. That's okay. Don't get defensive. Let them say what they want to say, right? It's okay because change is hard. We know change is hard. You have probably been on a journey already about wanting to have less stuff in your home, and other people may not be as far down that path as you are. They might not understand where you're coming from. And so we need to have a little bit of, grace and leeway with them and understand that it's okay. And especially when it comes to the holiday traditions, these ones are a little more ingrained and a little harder to overcome. So let's approach this with love. So one way to handle this is by validating their feelings first, right? We want to say, look, something like, I know how much you love giving gifts and we really appreciate it so much. We're just trying to do things a little bit differently this year, right? It doesn't have to be permanent. We're saying we're just going to give it a try. And this feels right. We've been wanting to do this, that, or the other. And we really think that this holiday season is a great opportunity to try. And then gently bring it back to those alternatives you suggested. So remind them that they're still giving something extremely valuable to your family. And it might even be more valuable than the physical thing. It's just in a different form. And especially if they live close, if they're able to participate and come along with the experience, I have found that that makes it so much more easy to transition from a physical to an experiential gift. If they're not able to participate, then make sure that when you do the gift, like when you do the thing, like let's say it's a day at the zoo. When you go to the zoo, take tons of pictures, send them pictures, make sure you are thanking them and just saying, "We had so much fun today. Look at how much fun we had." And then if you really want to go the extra mile and really cement this in, have your kids send a thank you note that's saying, like, "We had such a fun day. This was my favorite thing we did today." Whatever they want to say in their letter there, and it will go so far. Right? People just want to know that the gift they gave was appreciated. And it's sometimes easier to see the appreciation when it's a gift that can be used and played with versus when it's an experience. So this is going to really help with that pushback of people saying like, "But I just don't I I don't feel like I gave you anything if I just give you a day out." Make sure they see how much fun you had. And then remember, it is okay, again, if things don't go perfectly. Our goal is just to make the holidays feel less overwhelming and more joyful for you and your family and everybody there. And that is a worthwhile pursuit, even if it takes a couple seasons to fully transition. So if we cut back on one or two or half, 25%, cut back on some percentage of those physical gifts in exchange for some experiential gifts. And as those experiences become more fun, it will be easier to get the family on board. Also, as your kids grow up, their tastes are going to get more expensive. The gifts get smaller, the price goes up. And so as they grow up, generally it's a little bit easier to switch to these experience gifts as your kids move out of the baby, toddler, and young kid phase where the toys are relatively inexpensive. Okay. So let's wrap up and discuss the benefits of less clutter this holiday season. I know if you are listening to the show, you probably don't need a lot of reminders as to why less stuff is beneficial for you. But if you want to share this episode, I want to make sure everybody knows. And just to remind you that the goal here isn't to make things difficult or to upset anyone. It is to create a holiday season that feels right and feels good for you and your family. And by starting these conversations now, you are giving everybody time to adjust and come on board. And that payoff for you is going to be less clutter. It's going to be less stress. It's going to be more meaningful moments that you and your kids will remember long after that wrapping paper is gone and recycled away. So I want you to take the first step today. I want you to think about calling one family member or emailing and sharing your new approach to gifts this year. One more alternative I want to leave you with, if your family is filled with maybe older kids and adults and they're really struggling with letting go of gift giving, suggest a secret Santa where you only have to buy one gift. Maybe that one gift is worth a little bit more, but you buy one gift for one person instead of lots of gifts for everybody. And that will just help cut down on the amount of clutter and the amount of gifts that have to be purchased and exchanged. And just think about that from a perspective of people get a little bit more of what they want, like a nicer gift that they actually want instead of a lot of little gifts. It's way less stressful for you because you only have to pick one gift. And it's better for the environment too, because now we're only having, if there's 8 people, now you only have 8 gifts instead of, what is that, 64 if everybody bought everybody else a gift. Probably a little bit less because you're not counting yourself. But anyway, let's think about it that way. And that is really helpful and is super nice for your pocketbook and everyone else's pocketbook too. I'm sure everybody is more on board with that than you realize. Okay, so just to recap, take that first step today. Call one family member, email someone, share your new approach this year. These small steps can lead to big changes later. And as always, if you have ideas, suggestions, or just want to share how these conversations are going for you, please reach out. I would love to hear from you. And so with that, I want to turn it to you. I want to know what you thought of this. Have you switched from traditional physical gifts to more experience gifts? And what has your experience been like? What were some of the things what were some of your favorite gifts over the holidays? And even as a kid, do you remember many of the physical gifts or do you remember more about what you did? I would love to hear from you. So please come on over. You can share on Instagram with me. I'm at Wannabe Clutter-free over there, or you can come to Facebook and join the Wannabe Minimalist family group over there and share with that private community. We would absolutely love to have you. And as always, thank you so much for joining me today. I am so grateful you are here, and I appreciate you taking time out to listen to this episode. If you like what you hear, can you do me a favor and subscribe to the show so you don't miss any more episodes? And with that, I will see you next week. I will be joined by Jessica Littman, and we will be talking about micro decluttering. It's a little bit different than the micro decluttering episode I did before. And so I want you to come and check it out, because who knew there were so many different variations and definitions of micro decluttering. I think you're going to get a lot out of it, and it is not about perfection. It works perfectly. She and I have a lot of similarities, so I think you're really going to enjoy the show. So make sure you don't miss that next week. Go ahead and subscribe so you get it delivered right to you wherever you are listening to this show. All right, until next time, keep decluttering, keep things simple. Go for what you really want and start having these conversations now from a place of love. Please know that I've got your back, so if you have any questions, reach out. I know you can do it. I'm Deanna Yates, and you've been listening to episode 223 of the Wannabe Clutter-free podcast. I'll see you next week. Cheers.